We are back live again tonight. It's not quite Thursday night hockey, but it is Wednesday night hockey, sort of, with a live look in at all the playoff games here in round one. Hi, everyone. TSibs. Maybe Vibes later on. We'll see if he shows up. But right now it's just me and Biggie Biggs here. Help me out with the broadcast tonight. Not accustomed to not being in the playoffs for sure, but he's going to have some fun with us anyway. Biggs, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. Nothing special.
Yeah, nothing special now at this point, right?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be off and be enjoying my summer while all these guys have to slave through the playoffs.
Well, let's get talking about the playoffs right now and what's been going on so far. You know, we have one series that's actually complete at this point, and that's the Bears and the Sound Tigers. You know, again, you're going up against the Bears. It's a tough matchup no matter what. Unfortunately for Bridgeport, they in the first three games only put up one goal, and so it's incredibly tough to win any games, let alone a series. And then by the time they did put up 4 goals, they got outscored 5-4 in that final game. So Bridgeport, a decent season getting themselves in there, but against the Bears, it was going to be a tough battle right from the beginning. And the other matchup in that East is Springfield and Hartford. We'll talk about that in a minute, but just your general feeling so far at this point, Biggs. Cleveland. Everybody was crap talking them before the series started. They got down right away, but have now got themselves back into that series at 2-2. The Moose up on the Wild, where Vibes thought he'd have a lot of trouble with guys being available to play the game, and they've showed up enough to win 3 games. And of course, the big surprise is Dallas now ahead of San Diego, 3-1. The Gulls, after winning 23 straight, losing 3 in a row. Any of this at all stands out to you as the biggest surprise so far?
I would say biggest surprise for me is probably the Texas Gulls. Well, I wouldn't say it's that big of a surprise. Texas has always given us a huge struggle in our division, and the Gulls are on a hot streak. But the thing is before they went on this huge hot streak, it was probably a team that you looked at and went, oh, they're not making the playoffs, let's throw this line against them. So they went on this hot streak, and they probably had a lot of their third lines playing easier games, but obviously confidence grows and that third line starts doing things right, and then the hot streak. But playoffs is a whole new game. I mean, teams come out with game strategies, and you got to be ready for Texas, because Texas is never a joke when it comes to playoffs. I'll say that from personal experience. And also the rain, for sure, I think is a pretty big upset for San Jose. I mean, San Jose's got a really good team.
You still consider that a pretty sizable upset, though? I mean, I kind of feel like the West was just a tough division all around, and those two were battling all year long. Do you think? Did you feel like San Jose had that much better talent?
I think San Jose has better players, but I don't know how well they click together. I've played with a lot of different San Jose players, and as individuals, they're very skilled players, but I haven't really seen them click. Like, they've played against us, and we've shown them what chemistry does on that one Thursday night hockey week, and it's you can't just have good players. The players got to play together and really kick it in gear.
And just in general, the way these teams have come about, I don't think Syracuse and Binghamton's a big surprise, or Toronto necessarily, although Utica look like a team that could surprise a lot of folks. But to me, there hasn't been too many big surprises in this playoff. Is that pretty much how you feel?
So far, I mean, the Bears are gonna obviously won their series. Bridgeport was an accomplishment to make the playoffs. The Springfield Hartford, I'm surprised to see Springfield up, but I mean, Hartford's kind of just crashed ever since their big hot streak. The Marlies are definitely a better team than Utica, but I wouldn't be surprised if Utica brought it to Game 6 tonight. And that Syracuse-Binghamton series is going to be tough. I think Syracuse should be able to take it home, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Binghamton upset them. And obviously on the other side, I'm rooting for the Griffins, but You know, I think the Griffins might also take it to 6. I'd love to see it to 7. I don't know if they have the players to beat the Monsters in 7, but if we know the Monsters, they're liable to lose round 1. I'd also love to see the Moose be upset, but the Wild doesn't have the depth they've had last year, and I think the series are going the way we expect them to, with a few hiccups for some teams at the start. Some teams just didn't come out the way they want to, and now they're adjusting, and it's time to shine right now tonight.
One of the teams that I mentioned earlier is Springfield and Hartford, and I had a chance to talk to their GM, Ice Block, a little bit earlier on about the series so far and tonight's games. Ice Block, you guys are up right now against Hartford, 3-1. Dropping that early game, but then coming back with a solid game too. With a lot of the guys that are playing tonight, Stanley Cup had the hat trick that game. MLN with 5 assists and Bacon Weave with the shutout. Going right back at it with those guys tonight. I'm assuming you've got a ton of confidence with them.
Yes, I definitely have a ton of confidence with these guys. Like you said, the game 2 shutout was a major turning point, which really kind of fired the confidence back into the guys after that game 1 loss. The game 1 really boiled down to availability and who could I use on a Sunday night. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of led us to take it one game at a time, every night to try to secure that victory. Luckily my boys were able to play above and beyond last night. Game 1 got a little close. We were ahead 5-2 there in the second period and ended up being a 5-4 win. Game 2, if you guys watched that one, it was a 3-2 win. So they were both great games. I definitely give it out to Premier Player with the matchups that he's been able to put against us, and just to be able to keep the playoff tempo rolling. That's kind of the biggest thing that's holding this team together right now. Probably for both sides. I can't speak for Hartford, but I definitely know for Springfield that the playoff tempo is causing an effect on my guys. So,
what were your expectations when you first realized you're going to go up against Hartford in the first round? They've had their ups and downs this season, but certainly they've got a lot of talent, a lot of veteran talent on this team. What was your very basic game plan against these guys? What was your mindset in approaching this series?
Mindset is basically kind of the way it's been going. I thought we could do it in 5. If we can pull something out here in this game 1, then yeah, it will have come down to my expectations. But if it goes any further than that, then I kind of got to rethink my game plan and see what we can do from there on out. But leading up to it, to be cocky, I knew that we were going to beat them. To be modest, it's the playoffs. It's a different game. It's not the regular season anymore, and you don't know what the other team is holding. They could have a secret weapon that they've been holding back all season. You don't know what's going to happen. Right. But, I'm pretty sure that's why most of us are here, is because of that.
You've got a lot of veterans on your team, guys that we've all seen in this league, like MLN, like Stanley's Cup, who's been there. He's been deep in the playoffs. He's won. Chicken Biscuit, who you played the other night as an ECU, also, a ton of experience playing this game. Dirt McGarrett, same thing. All guys who have experience playing the game for a while, have played this team game for a while. Does that make a difference for your team? Does that add anything to your efforts in the playoffs?
It makes my job a lot easier. I can definitely tell you that. Even on defense with Kepler, Woe was a CHL GM, so with that, he brought up his experience down there. Mm-hmm. Bacon was he's a rookie this season in the AHL, but his mentality is still, up there with it. The veteran guys, though, yes, with their experience, their calmness, just kind of being able to lay it over the younger AHL guys, it helps out.
You mentioned Bacon Weave, 3-0, 86% save percentage, 2.01 goals against, the shutout so far. He's just been solid all season long. Talk about Bacon Weave and his impact on the team.
Bacon Weave is probably one of my favorite guys. You know, we played a lot during the off season, and I knew that he was coming up to be an AHL bidding. He was kind of going to be the underdog there. You know, I was a little worried about it before the season started because he was a CHL goalie. But after playing with him for so long, it didn't, you know, that wore off. Early on in the season, he was our rock. You know, we had a couple goalie problems when Ty was there. And as you just saw within the last week, Ty got banned for not showing up. You know, he was doing that same stuff to us. So we rolled through a few goalies, and Bacon stood on his head, and he helped push this team through. You know, if it wasn't for Bacon, we would not be sitting where we are, for sure.
You've got and to help him out too. You've got a darn good defense. You know, including yourself back there. But you mentioned Woe. Ajax Kepler, who was a +5 so far in the playoffs. He's done incredibly well. Bry, talk about how much the defense has meant to your success this season.
It's meant everything. You know, from last season to this season, it's a complete 180. I have not had to worry about defense. I mean, their guys' availabilities are almost 9 out of 9. I have to work around 1 or 2 guys during the regular season, but my defense has made it easy for me. I have confidence in every one of those players that steps on the ice. And yeah, I mean, myself, I've kind of had my ups and downs, more downs this season than ups, but everybody else has done their job on the blue line, being able to hold off, you know, and especially getting those shutouts for Bacon. You know, he's a great goalie, but he did not do it himself for sure. A lot of team defense was in that, and a lot of the defense is standing in front of him.
Final question: what's the one key to tonight's games? What do you have to keep on doing against Hartford?
Just keep the pressure up. You know, it's the same thing we've been doing. I mean, game 1 did get out of hand for sure, but you know, games 2, 3, and 4, we just kept the pressure on them, and we came out on top. You know, so as long as we can do that, not get in our own heads, and just be able to, you know, push through and see the victory. I think we got this tonight.
Hey, best of luck to you tonight, Game 5, maybe only Game 5, and if needed, a Game 6. But good luck to you, and congrats so far on a pretty solid season.
Thanks, Sibs. I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on the show.
Ice Block, the GM of the Springfield Thunderbirds, and nice 3-1 lead right now on Hartford. And again, you know, we talked a little bit about it with him, Biggs, but we mentioned, Hartford streak a little bit, and then they came back to earth right away. Kind of felt like maybe, they certainly caught a break during those weeks where they had that streak going, but they never seemed to really translate that into what did we do right and how can we keep that going. They kind of came back to where they were before, and without that win streak, who knows? Maybe Hartford wouldn't even be in it. Maybe Lehigh Valley would have gotten that spot. So I'm thinking maybe for a short time they believed in themselves, and now it's been a struggle, and they've taken a lot of crap from people in the league so far this season, and I wonder if any of it's getting to them to the point where they're just not believing they can win this series.
I think I would say their streak, like I said about San Diego earlier, was probably, lower lines and then win by win you grow confidence, and then it's also could be the effect of then they're in the spotlight all of a sudden, and these guys, can they handle the pressure? Can they handle the intensity? You come out playoff game 1 and there's no pressure yet. 0-0, you haven't lost a game yet. You come out stress-free. Hartford wins, and then the Thunderbirds answer. And then now they're putting the Springfield's putting all the pressure back on Hartford. So really, I don't see the Wolfpack bouncing back, because it just by facts, it just seems like they choke under pressure. So we'll see how they do tonight, but there's a lot of pressure on their shoulder. They got to get 3 games, and they got to do it 1 game at a time.
We're still waiting for some games to start up here. So far, we don't necessarily have any streams yet. Looks like maybe Premier is getting his squad together, so we will get to that in a second. But they're just getting into the dressing room as it is now. Looks like they are searching for the club, so we may be able to bring you that game here as soon as it's up and running. Let's go back to the West a little bit and talk about Ontario. They've been a really consistent team all season long. And, a little bit about not maybe their style of play, but the fact that they are, you know what you're going to get, and you know it's going to be tough no matter what you do when you go out. And that kind of reminds me a little bit of your team last season, where you know what you were up against. You know all the talent that was on your team. It didn't matter. And I think, I'm not saying Ontario's just as talented. I'm saying that they have some talent where, you're not necessarily seeing a weakness that you can exploit on that team. And you've got to be prepared every game of the series and not think you're going to catch a break. And Ontario has some of that capability to be able to do that to a team. How do you offset the rain? Are you more concerned about the Orioles and Fairman line than anything else, or do you throw that out the window and say we've got to, it doesn't matter who they put out there, we've got to just all of our lines have to show up tonight?
Well, you gotta play the line smart. So I think as a GM, the first job is you trying to match lines the way you want them. You got to ignore the fact that it's a 7-game series and try to win it in 6. I don't think many people can beat Ontario's Game 7 lineup, but you got to ignore that, and you got to play. I would call it a suicide line. You got to try to suicide line against their top line, and then try to take out their other decent lines with your better lines. And if you can take down their second and third line, series is yours. But I mean, their second and third line is no joke, so you really got to come out hard and not be like, well, we're playing the crappy line this week. It starts from the GM top and their strategy, but you also have the disadvantage if you're not up in the rankings on them, and you get to put lines in not as often, not first ahead of them. It's tough though. Like, they got solid goaltending, solid defense, and scarier forwards, so it's exciting, really.
Yeah, not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. We will at least get you to 2 games that are trying to get something going here. A premier player has got his team in the room there, but they have not yet seen Springfield at this point. So, then the other team, of course, are the Wild, who are trying to get ready for their game. So, you get into this point where, say you're Hartford and you're on the verge of elimination, and you guys in Stockton had a close call even last season when you got down a few games to the Wild, I believe, right?
No.
It was Dallas.
Yeah, it was Dallas.
And how do you keep a team composed at that point when you're already down a couple of games in a series, or might even be eliminated soon?
Well, the best thing you can do is when you're 1 game from elimination, you should know what that elimination team is going to do. They're throwing out their top line because your top line is expected to win, and you're going to boost motivation on your team. You got to, as a team. I always loved getting our players to watch our games because it pumps them all up, especially when you have 2 games in one night. You watch your first line win, let's say, and your next line's coming in with, they're feeling that motivation that the first line just pumped out.
Right.
And it's tricky on the other end too, really, because if you're up 3-1 on a team, at least what I would do is I would put, they're throwing out your top line. You don't want to match that top line. So you're throwing out, a lower line to hopefully win that. And then if you're playing it smart, you're looking to win it on game 6 when you throw out a stronger line against their line. But if you're a smart GM on the losing team, you really have no choice to be throwing out those lines to get that motivation. Because if you're losing in game, I'd rather lose in 6 games than 5. So top line's always going out game 5.
Looks like we are about ready to get the Griffins and Monsters game going, and we'll get to that here shortly. They are still working on on getting a lineup in there. They're just about ready, and we'll get to that game here in a second as we try and see where the other ones are. As you see, the
looks like Springfield might be starting there soon at the loading screen.
Right. And so this one about ready to get underway, and we'll at least be able to look at this one for a little while. And as we wait for other games to start up, and hopefully we'll be getting streams from everybody as we get along here. Yeah, as you can see there, we are getting that Hartford game going as well. And we'll try and get that one on a single screen here in a second. But it looks like they're going to have a penalty right away in their game. And we'll get over to that as we call it.
They start off strong.
Yeah, right away. A deflection right there as we just see in front. And, I feel like I've seen, and I hate to bring up another game at this point, but I feel like we've been seeing in 18, a lot of deflection goals coming up. And that's really going to be a fun time when that comes out to be able to say, it's we're gonna have fun playing defense and goaltending. But in 17, it seems to be a little harder to get deflection plays, or is it just a matter of? Is it just a matter of it isn't really in the mindset of the players enough at this point?
You got to play it right. I know half my points are probably from shots from the point. A lot of players just shoot. You really got to look for that open lane before you shoot, because you get that open lane with your player in front, you got a good chance on that goalie. And 18, everyone's got the ability to stop it too. Forget block shots. You also got the players who are smart and can tie you up in front of the net. But tips are a huge part of this game, so if I were playing on either team, I'd be utilizing it as much as possible.
See, Hartford has the 1-0 lead so far in this game.
There's no shame to ice the puck, guys.
You can even hear some of the comment in one of these games. We're going to have to calm that down a little bit. Unfortunately, these guys don't know some of their comments are coming out, but I don't want to give away strategy at this point. Cleveland, as you see, on top of the Griffins now, 1-0 in their game. And Cleveland, again, trying to prove a few things this week. A lot of garbage being spoken about that team. I think you can have whatever opinions you want, and I think a lot of them are just, personal and not necessarily about the player or the manager. But, say what you want, Cleveland, 2 seasons in a row, has put together a very good team. And, last season we know what happened with players going up to the NHL and players coming down from the coming down as well. And so, that messed up the team then. A couple of things happening this past week before the playoffs started, and Siege wasn't available, and so the garbage talking continues on. But, again, you get along. Some people get along with some folks, some people don't in this game. But, again, what Freeze has been able to do, putting together a team, so, the last 2 seasons big, it's not by accident he does this.
I feel like that first comment was directed right at me, but I agree. He's got good players, and however he does it, we'll give him some credit. But what I give credit to is I think he's lucked out on not just the skill, but the personality of his players. I've played with a lot of his guys, and a lot of his players are great players. Like, I love T-Ball; he's a great guy, and also a rival, big rival. But you got players that can mold into any type of player you need them to be. And Sieg's most likely probably the same way. And I've played with Ferdage, another really good player. And when you have good personality chemistry, it goes a long way. And I think Freeze has been able to get a lot of players like that. And a lot of it comes with playing the game a lot. And you meet a lot of people, and instead of picking skills sometimes, you got to pick personalities. And he probably gets a lot of time to pick that kind of stuff up.
Again, Cleveland leading this game 1-0 against the Griffins. They're getting down to 4 minutes left to go in the first. We're still trying to get the Toronto-Utica game going, and looks like they're about to have that one starting up. Meanwhile, the other two games we're looking at this point is Springfield and Hartford tied at 1, and Iowa and the Moose also at 0 here in the first. And so we'll keep keyed on these two games for now. I think if we get 4 games on the screen, it might be hard to see what's going on. So we'll kind of bounce back and forth between them and keep a close eye on this. To me, the Wild looked like a team that, again, was well put together. But, I think part of this, and again, you can kind of talk to this a little bit because you have some insight on what Loops did last season and what you guys tried to do when you set lineups. But, I think if you go up against Vibes, he's a devious individual, so he's gonna, I think he's going to try and bait you into doing something with your lineup, and to me, that's like one of the real keys of playoffs, to be able to figure out what you're going to do with your team and how you're going to counteract the different possibilities, and I'm wondering if Iowa, as we see, just scored now to go up 1-0 in this game, if Iowa had a little bit of an issue with how they were going to play the lineups against the Moose, if Vibes was able to figure out what he wanted to do to counteract that ahead of time. How much of that strategy in a playoff is important to a team winning?
Detrimental, I'd say. I mean, well, I don't know. Loops would do something similar last year too, and I would say Loops was a fairly devious guy too when it came to that kind of stuff. And I agree, Vibes probably craves the, messing with people's minds as a manager. And you gotta convince, you want to fool the other team to throw out a line that, they might not want to, or a line that, you've just been clicking against with another line. Sometimes it's not necessarily the matchups of 1v3, but you want, maybe your top lines are just, every time you've played, you've destroyed their top line with your top line, and that's a guaranteed win if you look at it that way. But it's interesting what Iowa's done here, because I wouldn't say they've thrown out their top line here in this game, but I don't know who got home ice for this. I guess it's the Moose. So it's interesting that Vibes threw himself in against this lineup. I mean, I wouldn't have, given his skill level and where he sits in the team, respecting himself, of course, but I would have thrown in a stronger lineup. And I also think the key for Iowa to beat the Moose, and whoever plays the Moose next, in my opinion, if you want to beat them, you got to take 2 games or 3 games up on them right away and watch the whole team implode, because we all know that's very possible to happen when you have personalities like Vibes and Go Hawks. I'd love to see that team crumble by personality. Well, I shouldn't say I love. That's pretty mean.
Well, I mean, I think you play a point now. I've even said this to Vibes. I think you're, it's a real house of cards. It could stay together and be a wonderful thing to watch, or it could tumble very quickly. All you need is a game or two where there's an issue with a game with any of those guys you mentioned, and they lose it. And they just go off on their teammates. That's the danger I always see in going with guys who are talented but have a history of some issues. How quickly can they destroy your team if something goes wrong? I mean, we're seeing it with Utica. With Bridgeport. Their backup goaltender, Bally, is already mouthing off in the shout box about his team. They got knocked out of the playoffs, so now he finds the guts to say something to everybody. When that happens during a playoff run, while you're still in it, that could be incredibly detrimental, and I think that's where you got to worry if your Vibes a little bit. Can these guys keep it together long enough and win games and not lose it at some point?
No, you're right. It's got to be stressful for Vibes with those players. I mean, ticking time bombs. Can they Can they last till they win the cup? Or
It's a good question. It's a very good question. I don't know. I mean, I think that's only time is going to tell on that one. We see Iowa up 2-0 on the Moose. Springfield and Hartford still tied at 1. DeGraves joins us now on the broadcast to help us out with the play-by-play and updates on other games that we're not looking at directly right now. You guys are faring okay so far.
Yeah, can't really complain. We had an interesting game 3 where we had to throw a goalie ECU that barely, or if ever, has played goalie in his life. So we pulled out a victory in that one. It started off pretty rough, 3-0, I believe. San Jose went up, but we came out with the 5-3 win, and that was a pretty big momentum. And unfortunately, in Game 4, it went their way. They played pretty well. Pretty good line that they threw out there, and I think they're throwing that out for Game 5. I played Game 4, and they held us pretty tight, and we couldn't really do much on our offensive zone. And they're going to be. It's going to be another tough matchup tonight. I'm hoping we can close it out, but we'll see. It's not in my hands and several of our hands, but the players that are playing tonight, I think they can do it. So we'll see how this series ends up. I think the deciding factor will be known by tonight, really.
I got to give the Reign credit for that, for what you just told me. Going down 3-0 in the first, and you got to give them credit for having heart. You come back, score 5 goals and win the game, and not only that, but that goalie doesn't let in another goal. 82 save percentage. That doesn't come from just the goalie playing well. That comes from good defense. I mean, if you can stay focused in a game like that and come back and win, your team's scary.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if Westside or Sam was in there, honestly, the shots that they got in there were pretty weak. Our goalie was probably like 10 feet out of the net a couple times, and they just slapped it in there from a random place and went in. But I mean, I think it would have been a shutout game on our end if that didn't occur. But hey, we were all watching the stream and screaming up and down because we were pretty shocked by the outcome of that game as well. But I don't think the Barracuda really knew what was going on and about our goalie situation. So I'm sure that if they're hearing this, they're pretty shocked and pretty disappointed that they got that loss. I know I would be. I would be like, oh shit, you gotta be kidding me. But it's been a good series. They got a lot of good players. And guys, I mean, I don't want y'all to discredit the talent that they have on the other side. We came in with a game plan, and so far it's been working for us. And, so I think going here on out, they're kind of catching on to our game plan. So they're kind of adjusting to it. And I think the next couple of games are going to be pretty close, and the series will be close from here on out. So we're going to find out the hard way, I guess.
Well, we've got 4 games that are well underway. We've got a second period intermission with Springfield and Hartford tied at 1. They're about ready to get started with the third. Cleveland, as you see, also up 3-0 on the Griffins. They're starting the third right now. That's in your upper left corner of the screen. And we have the Toronto Marlies up on Utica 2-0 in the top right in the second period, and so they are seemingly well on their way to hopefully for them a victory and knocking Utica out. Another team that again we start getting down, and it's been tough for them to try and continue to play and get motivated for these games. They also lost a couple of players in the last 2 weeks of the season, so that kind of thing certainly takes its toll on the team. And this summer season has just been hellish. I don't envy any management that's had to deal with this because, all season long, GMs having to ECU players constantly. Now, we've heard stories of, and as you just mentioned, DeGraves, players ECUing in the playoffs. this seems to be one of the harder seasons I've seen for managing in this league.
I mean, even some of the games San Jose has thrown out, I believe the first game that we played against them, it was a ECU D-man, and, we did capitalize on that. I don't know if it was all his fault, but, or I'm not going to say it was his fault at all, but, it is a big factor in these playoffs. I'm sure, like, Vibes, he's holding on by the end of his teeth right now, hoping he doesn't have to use an ECU after he used 90 this season, which is stupid ridiculous. I mean, that's unheard of. I don't even think I could round up 90 ECUs in 3 seasons. So, I mean, yeah, the summertime is very, very hard. It's probably not the season I would want to be in management, but the people that really enjoy it and take pride in it, I mean, that's just part of the game, and I guess they accepted that coming into this. So, kudos to them and props to them, and I'm sure we all tip our hats off to them, because I'm sure it's been a fight for all management.
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah, I think there's not much else you can say about that, right? I mean, it is it's not easy to have to deal with all these issues, and again, I give everybody credit who's been able to do it so far. It's been a hellish season for a lot of GMs, and Vibes mentioned, I think he was close to 80 on ECUs. I mean, it's ridiculous.
He was on 80.
I think Stockton's biggest struggle this season which is affected by the summer, is Calgary's call-ups because of their players being unavailable. Calgary took a lot of players from us, and it really affected us. And then we're spending most of the season looking for replacements instead of, getting in-depth TC players. So
right.
And it hurts you when you're calling up a player that's basically losing the game for you. It's definitely not a one-man show to win it, but one guy can lose it for you.
The win also cut over to Binghamton Syracuse. They are 0-0 getting late in the first. That game finally stream got underway, and so we were able to get a stream from them. Griffins now trying to come back a little bit as Cleveland went up 4-1, now up 4-2 in this one. And we got a couple of matchups. Toronto getting to the end of the second period. We're going to switch away from that one. As you see, Springfield and Hartford tied up at 2 right now. And so we'll try and concentrate more on the bigger games at this point, as we are doing a live look-in tonight with several games, and we'll try and keep up on all this for you and take a look at what's going on. Cleveland has tied their game up, and it looks like there's been a timeout called on the Griffins side, and so unfortunately, T-Bod not getting an awful lot of support tonight. And the Griffins, I kind of feel like it really is a tale of two teams some weeks for them. Who shows up? Hartford now taking the 3-2 lead. We'll keep a close eye on this game too, because I think this one could be incredibly interesting right to the end. Hartford really having a lot to prove, I think, in this one, in this series, really, guys. I think a lot of people have been, have not been confident that they could do anything, and that it was all smoke and mirrors the first or the middle of the season when they went on a streak. But I don't think that's the case. I think they have some real talent, and they've got to prove it this series.
Oh yeah, I mean, we all see what goes on in the shot box with Hartford, and I mean, they are a good team. You can't, I mean, obviously they're a playoff team, but you can't take the credit away from TSibs. I mean, I'm not saying you are, but I mean, they're a good team, and they do have kind of a chip on their shoulders, all the people that have doubt in them and stuff like that. And I mean, not only them, I'm going out on a limb and saying the Griffins, they're nervous right now. I mean, so they were up 2-0 in the series, and Monsters are coming back. They're up 4-2, like we were just discussing, and they're shaking in their boots. It's you go up 2-0 in a series, and now it turns into a 3-2 series on the other end. That's a confidence destroyer. And I hope that either the Griffins come out and maybe pull this out, or going to game 5 or 6. Sorry.
Too much. Yeah, too much. I'm sorry. Just poking in here as Springfield able to tie it up with a lot of pressure. Hartford had gone ahead 3-2, but as we get under a minute now, 44.5 seconds left to go. Springfield able to tie this one up with a lot of pressure up front, and defense just not able to stop all the cross creases going on. Finally, hooking up on one there. Vibes was with us. He just dropped off.
It looks like in the shout box, the Stars won and took the series.
Oh wow.
Okay, so that that is going to be that is a tough loss, and it is. I tell you what, that's as shocking to me as it is for most people. I'm sure obviously a lot of people wanted to see the Gulls come back down to earth, but I don't think anyone really figured it was going to be this bad.
No, I definitely didn't expect this outcome. I'm sure none of us expected this outcome. I expected the Stars to put up a good fight and potentially win the series, but a 4-1 series win, that's pretty impressive on the Stars, especially how hot, the Gulls were going into the playoffs. Pretty good confidence. I mean, like I said before in the show with Vibes, I think that C. Armstrong guy was a big key factor for them, and I think they're missing him a little bit because they don't have a center. So they're using ECU centers, and a center is a big part of the game, especially when it comes to face-offs and chemistry with your wingers. So, I think that was a big dagger for the Gulls going into the series. They didn't have that chemistry with their main man, their center of attention. So, that's 2 games in the books that they're missing out on right there.
So,
it's funny, too, because I would say they had the best goaltending combo in this league.
We're going to stick with this Hartford-Springfield game as it's gone into overtime now. They just started up, and Hartford trying to get something going. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Biggs.
No, I have nothing much to say.
Don't tell the Graves that. He won't stop talking then.
Yeah, you ain't lying. I'm going to preach it, but now I don't have to preach anymore because I think I proved my point. But, I call it how it is, so it's all right. That's over with now.
And Springfield just scoring now in the overtime, taking that game from Hartford, who had the lead late in the period with a minute left to go, and Springfield just turned on the Jets, got the offense going, scored the tying goal, and now going ahead. And again, a lot of good veteran talent on this team, as you saw Stanley's Cup win the faceoff, and then from there, just good passing. MLN on that play as well. That is so huge when you get veteran players who are able to do that for you. And again, another nice game for Springfield, just able to do what they do best. And that's kind of why I liked Hartford a little bit. And I thought this was an interesting series. I thought both teams had some good veterans that were really interesting to watch, and I always feel like that's a bonus. I know this league isn't that old on the PSN side, but I find it pretty important to have veterans. We talked a little bit about that in the pregame. On your team on the Reign, Fairman's been around from the beginning. Orioles, it has plenty of experience, and it's just a solid player and a great guy to work with. I think it's important to have good, veterans who've been successful, and I think that's a big reason why Springfield is successful at this point.
You got to trust in your GMs a lot. If you trust your GMs, skill-wise and trust what they're doing for your team, it grows confidence in the team, and it goes a long way.
Yeah. That's the truth. You got to trust, and that's in any kind of game. You got to trust the system, whether you agree with it or not. You got to trust it, and that's really all there is to it. And I think everyone hopped on board. I know on our side, I'm sure on Springfield, they're clicking on all cylinders as well. So, sometimes it just takes a couple games to get everyone to be like, okay, hey, this is what we can do. Let's keep doing it. Let's just trust it. And I think that's what Springfield is going into these playoffs like. They've really put together a good squad going into playoffs, and the Reign and I've pretty much been together all season. So, but that's yet again just trusting the GMs, trusting the management side of things, and going with it. So, kudos to those teams, and get in and get hot.
Vibes is with us now, I believe. Vibes, how's it going?
Just swell. How you doing?
Okay. A little trouble that first game?
Well, it was a look. I'm not gonna say it's a throwaway game, but it's a throwaway game. So now I bring in the cleanup crew, and they do what they got to do. So
that's pretty much.
What's that, Biggie?
I was gonna say that's pretty much the strategy I was talking about earlier. You throw in a shit line against their strong line, and then, like you said, the cleanup crew's next. As long as they don't choke, you're fine.
Right, as long as they don't choke. But the thing is that if they do, I got an even bigger cleanup crew. So I'm all right. I'm not worried about it. I mean, Minnesota, not Minnesota. Where are they from? Iowa. They've been good. You know what I mean? They're a good team. And, look, no team's going to just roll over and die, right? So, it's going to be a series. It's a hard-fought battle. And, eventually one team wins. Even though both teams maybe even kind of deserve to win in a way. So they've been good, and, they're going to be good till it's over.
Well, we talk about over. Toronto is pummeling Utica 7-0 as this game's about to end, and we'll switch away from that in a second. But so what's your strategy here, Vibes, as you go into Game 6 now?
My strategy here is, just overpower them. Is basically what it comes down to now. I put out that line, and listen, they played really well. Arch I'm just going to be honest, and he knows it too. Arch has struggled. He hasn't been there when we need him. He'll get better. You know what I mean? He was rattled a little bit moving up to the NHL. And it's carried over coming down here a little bit. He hasn't been the Arch of last season, and that's just point blank. I'll tell him that too. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't have it in him. And it's my job as a GM, and his job as a player to figure it out and get it to come out of him. And just get him to remember who he is. Mm-hmm. He's a great goalie. He just hasn't been playing like it.
Yeah, and that's interesting because it's not like there's a change of games between last season and this. So, I mean, has he pinpointed anything that he can see, or is there anything that you're seeing in this game that you think has changed?
Yeah, I told him, and it's so last season he didn't move nearly as much, mm-hmm. and he's moving a lot more. Wow. He's kind of all over the place, and I mean Nylander actually just said it as well. He told him, he said, Nylander, stay up, stop sliding. He said, Archie, stay up, stop sliding. And that's the truth. He's sliding all over the place. He's trying to do too much. And his time in the NHL with Winnipeg, it hurt him. It's just a reality. But, I have confidence in him. He'll be all right.
I think NHL... For any position, moving up to the NHL, it's hardest for a goalie because if you get moved up to a crap NHL team, you're doing that. You're slotting a lot because you want to make up for, crap defense or whatnot, and definitely better plays up there. You'll get way more one-timer combinations from players up in the NHL, so you really got to be more active as a goalie. But down here, I would say a lot of goalies just need to stand still and trust their defense. There's not as much puck movement a lot of the time, so I could see why that's affected him. And it does suck because, like I said, I think goalie is the most effective position.
Yeah, it does. It affects them, and kind of like you said, the one of the biggest difference And the reason why it's so much harder for a goalie moving up, it's because like players up there are a lot more patient, and they'll hold on to the puck, and then they'll make the play that you're not expecting. So as a goalie, it's quite an adjustment to get used to that, and that's the biggest difference from what I've seen between AHL players and NHL players is AHL players kind of make the play that you're sort of expecting in a way, but you just kind of have to stop it. NHL players make the play that you don't even see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's the biggest difference. And it can be challenging for a goalie.
Well, especially if you don't have the defense that understands that and can read it, that's the part that can be a huge problem. I think I think you have to be able to know what to expect. We're watching the end of the Syracuse-Binghamton game. They've pulled their goaltender and are trying to do something here as the puck slides all the way down, just misses the net. It's going to be an icing, and Syracuse is going to call a timeout with 11.3 left to go in the third period. I'm sorry, Binghamton calling a timeout. So Syracuse just barely holding on to this one right now, 2-1. Look at that, shots on goal. 4 for Binghamton, 6 for Syracuse. That's I think these two teams know what they're up against, and no one wants to make a mistake in this game.
You also got the best defense in the league on Syracuse. You're not getting by him easily.
Now we'll watch the end of this one, but I want to talk about the San Jose Ontario game. As we get back, face off now, and you see we're looking from the goaltender's view. He's on the bench right now as Syracuse is just swarming the net. 0.6 as the puck is held and frozen, and Syracuse a miracle shot away from winning this one, and nothing happens there, and so Syracuse takes this game and puts themselves on top in this series. And look at that. Just again, six shots to 4. Just an offensive struggle there. Obviously, struggle to even get shots on the net. What do you have, DeGraves, as far as a final on the Ducks and Reign? Did you get anything on that?
I don't think we have DeGraves anymore.
Oh, did we lose him? Yeah. No, yeah, we don't have him. Okay.
Baby, come back.
Do we have a score for that game?
Well, I wanted to validate what Ducks is telling me. Not that I don't trust Ducks, but I want to make sure that I always have a second opinion that from the game. But he's telling me that the Reign had the ECU for Fairman, and that San Jose won this game 9-0.
Oh,
which
Jesus.
Seems kind of ridiculous, right? So I think we want to double check that and just make sure. Not that I don't trust Duck, because I do, but I always try and find a couple of sources if I can.
Patriot of Canada saying 9-0 in the shout box too.
Wow. And that's interesting to lose one player. I could see if you lose by a couple of goals, but losing by that much is kind of a shock. Is it that much? I mean, can that much be affected by chemistry by losing one player?
I don't know if it's necessarily chemistry, but it's also like Fairman's definitely carrying that line. That's not a line that Fairman should be playing on. So it's already a weak line as it is, and that Fairman's definitely what's carrying that line. And you lose that player, not only are you losing your best player from that line, but you're throwing in someone who doesn't play the game strategy properly, probably. And once you start getting scored on, people start giving up. And then it's just, you don't have the chemistry, you don't have the skill, and now you also lost the motivation because you don't have an AGM also boosting you up, saying, "Let's go, guys, we're still in this." It's easy to just fall apart. And like I said earlier, one guy can't necessarily win you a game, but a guy can definitely lose you a game.
Yeah, it's final. It's a 9-0 victory for San Jose, and they had been struggling, and the fact that they're able to go ahead and win a game like this is it's kind of interesting because does this give them some momentum back? Is a win no matter what it is, or does this give them any kind of momentum coming back now? Being able to take Game 5, and now it's a 3-2 series. Do you think this kind of beating makes a difference, or do you just, are the Reign going to be able to reset and just come right back and play Game 6 and do what they have to?
I think the Reign's got what it takes. They, it's not the same lineup out. Players aren't as shocked from it, and you just got to ignore whether you lost 1-0 or 9-0. It's a loss. You take it like a man and you play your next game and you're looking for that W. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if a team beats you 9-0. That means nothing in playoffs.
Very interesting scoreboard as we take a look at it right now. 20 shots on goal for the Barracuda. West Side Hockey and net for the Reign, and I'll be very interested to see how he reacts to this game. He is a hell of a goaltender. He has reacted badly at times in the past to bad losses, and so will he bounce back and be okay for the next time out? That's a lot of work. Not a lot of great defense in front of him. I'm sure of that. DeGraves is back, and he could probably talk a little bit more to this game. But what's your take on what happened with the Reign tonight in this Game 5?
Oh man,
that's one thing.
If my expressions don't say it right now, yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. You sound upset.
Good guess.
I'm very distraught right now. Coming from what I heard through the grapevine, a lot of walk-in goals, just letting them come into our zone and just walk all over them. Just poor defense, honestly. I'm just going to cut to the chase, but poor defense, bad breakouts, not getting the puck out of our zone. Really, Westside was not thoroughly happy. But it's just one of those games that, like Biggs was saying, 1-0 loss, 9-0 loss. It's a loss. All it is an L. So just gotta take it and go with it.
Question is, do your players have that mentality? Does Westside have that mentality? That's the most important player right now.
Oh yeah. I'm talking to him right now as we speak. But I put a little confidence in his head. We have a solid line going in the next game. Unfortunately, the Game 2 line was going to play Game 1 tonight, but due to availability, that got switched up to where they're playing Game 2. There's a lot more confidence in this next game for sure. I know it's kind of hard to get over that loss, but hey, it is what it is. The line they went up against was still pretty solid. They beat me and my line last night, and they brought them out Game 1 tonight. But if they let that get to them, I don't have time to babysit. But hey. It's a game. If you think you're going to go out there and win every game, this is a hard competition. There's a reason we're all playoff teams. So, you just got to take it with a grain of salt and move on and go into Game 6 with a whole new mindset. So I'm hoping that's what they do, Vibes. But I can't make promises. But Westside is in a better state of mind.
To bounce over to the other series that was going on, that is now final. Texas beating the Gulls 2-0 in this one. A pair of goals for Prince of Zeus, who quietly, a lot of discussion about him last season with Chicago for various reasons, but he's quietly had a nice season for for the Stars. He has played well down the stretch, and a couple of goals tonight. Straight up hacks is again contributing in this one. They wound up having to start 2 ECUs, but you see Wyatt Kalpai is one of them, and of course he's been around for a while, so not really somebody who is brand new to the game, but still able to get a 2-0 shutout, only allowing 7 shots on goal. Painter, an easy night. Meanwhile, OMG Price facing 20 shots and stopping 18 of them. So played as well as he could, but it just didn't fall for them tonight. And tough loss for them. And the Gulls now that quickly out of it. I think we talked a little bit about it before Vibes got on, but is this the biggest surprise to you so far, Vibes? This the San Diego drubbing, really?
Considering I picked Texas, not so much.
But the way this has gone down, did you really think this is the way it was going to happen?
Not this quickly, no. I'd be a liar if I said I thought that he would oust him in, 5 games? That's kind of impressive. But, I mean, I think this kind of, goes back to what you said, actually, last week in the show is, it is going on a ridiculous tear. Like, what was it? I don't know, 45, 62, 971 wins in a row that they had. So when you finally lose that first game, I mean, people can respond differently,
Bro?
What?
We going all the way back to season 1 or what?
No, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but, it can affect you differently, you know what I mean? And some players may respond in one way and other players may respond in a different way. And, I don't know. I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding. The Gulls they kind of imploded after that. I mean, what do you guys think? What do you think happened over there, Biggs?
Well, I'm good buddies with Trash Clown, so I haven't talked to him, but I don't know. Like they were rolling, and when you're on a hot streak like that, you get so used to winning. That first loss after the hot streak really determines how good of a team you are, because then that's you got to pick yourself up after you're down, and you're so used to winning. People tend to start pointing the blame on why someone lost, and then shit blows up, like you said. So it could have been that, we don't know. I mean, you lose game. I don't know what game they lost. Was it game 2, game 1? They after that, I mean, there was no really coming back unless they. It was game 3 they lost. No, never mind.
Well, they lost 1, 2, and 3, didn't they?
No, they won game. I don't know what the hell. They won game 4. Yeah, they did lose the first 3 games, so that's tough.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And it's not even their top line that we're looking at that wins game 4. So it's based off just like what you expect. It's not. They weren't playing their best hockey, and whether that's just. They're not used to playoff hockey. You got the Stars who have all the experience in the world with this, that probably I would still say the hardest team that I think we faced last season in the playoffs, and they got the same management, and you got to expect them to come out strong with a game plan. They're going to tell their players what to do, and they're going to come ready, and the Gulls probably weren't ready for that.
Yeah, I also think, I mean, I mentioned it on Livewire Radio. I mentioned it. I said, that I was actually getting behind the Gulls, and while they were playing the underdog role and everything, and, kind of like in us against the world, sort of on the come up, ready to go sort of thing, I was all about it. And then, they came in doing a chicken dance and the bird is the word and whatever else they were doing. And, I think not only did it turn me off, but I think maybe, I don't know, maybe it got to their heads. Maybe they started to think they were more than they were. And, I mean, Biggie says, Texas is a good team. And I know they got a lot of guys returning from last season. So, I mean, he's got some experience going up against these guys. And, they were a good team. And I think maybe we can say that the Gulls kind of overlooked them a little bit, and they shouldn't have.
It's funny because the Gulls, they worked so hard to get to the top spot, which is really an incredible. Like, they were fighting against us for a playoff spot. Next thing you know, goal score, top seed in that division, which to me was a huge shock. And all it really gave them, though, was, the advantage for home ice, because any team you're playing in this division is just insane to play against. And to be honest, the last team you want to play in first place is Texas. Or, well, yeah, I can't even say that, but like, you all you won by getting first was your banner and your home ice. Aside from that, they probably, that win streak probably, I don't think, helped them. They didn't learn what they needed to before coming into playoffs.
Yeah.
I was kind of saying that, I was kind of saying that a little bit earlier to a few guys on their team. And, I kind of was saying, I wonder if your guys are going to come into this overconfident. I wonder if they are not going to realize that they can still be beaten, and what that can do to a psyche. You want your guys to be confident in their abilities and being able to win, but I think there's a point where you can be way overconfident. You're on a 23-game winning streak. You didn't have a loss, and we even talked about this, I think, on Friday Vibes. Do you want your first loss to be in the playoffs after a streak like that? And then what does it do? Does it bring your guys down? Did they feel like they were invincible before, and now they feel human, and now they feel like, okay, well, we've got some weakness, and we all have to tighten up. And then what happens is you got a bunch of guys not playing loose, not playing confident, playing angry, playing a little fearful. And I was kind of wondering if that might be what would happen in this series if they lost the game right away. And I kind of feel like that may have been part and parcel to what we saw in this series. I think they just, it just fell apart as quickly as it had come together for several weeks. It came apart that quickly, and I still say it would have been better had they had they lost a game or two that last week, and it might have brought them down to earth a little bit more, and then realize, hey, you know what? We just got to go out there and play our best, and whatever happens, happens. We had a good run during the regular season, and now we lost a few at the end. Now let's just go and win. I still think it had a lot to do with what happened to them just now in round one.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and they're all valid points, and you did say that. And hey, look, as of right now, it seems like maybe you were right. I don't particularly subscribe to that. Mm-hmm. I don't really, people say like the law of averages and things like that, and it's not really a thing when you get right down to it. Each individual game is its own entity, so you can't really lump it in together and say, well, eventually we're going to lose a game. Not really the case, but I do see your point, and maybe you're right. Maybe they should have dropped the game heading in. But
I'm not even sure, Vibes. But
when you're winning like that, and you're winning and you're winning, I personally want to keep winning.
Sure.
So I don't know.
No, I agree. I don't know. There are so many individuals on a team that you can't necessarily. What I'm saying, part of it is not really valid, because you can't really pin everybody with that same, well, maybe they needed to get a loss. It wouldn't be fair, because there are a lot of guys who I'm sure on that team, it didn't faze them. But what phases them now is their first round exit, which was, I think a bit shocking to all of us. And, perhaps they needed to, just to, as a team after a loss, maybe come together and say, okay, that streak is over. Let's forget about it. Let's get back on the horse. I don't know what was said by the Gulls. I know they have a pretty good management team, and I want to believe that they had that discussion with their team. But, I still wonder, do do you talk to the players right after that first loss and say, okay, we got that out of the way. Let's go back and do what we know we could do, and try and get these guys to be a little more loose. I mean, as a manager, that's kind of how I would approach it. But I don't know. I mean, let me put that to you, Vibes. I mean, what do you do when you're on a streak like that and then you finally lose a game in the playoffs? What do you tell your team?
Well, I mean, I think even before you get to that point, I think you even have to take a step back for a second. And, you want your players to feel good and you want your players to ride high, like when they're high in the hog, let them stay there to a certain degree, but at the same time, like, see, the way I handle my team is I'm kind of like an anchor. Or I guess the way you can kind of draw an analogy would be like, it's kind of like fishing, like you let the line out a little bit, but then you got to reel it back in. You
Yes.
let it out a little bit, feed a little line, and reel it back in a little bit. And that's kind of the way I approach things. Like, you never really want to just let it run wild, and I think the minute you do that, you're kind of setting your team up for failure. Or if you want to draw it back to the fishing analogy, you're setting it up to get away. And I think maybe they lacked a little bit of that in San Diego. Like I say, I keep poking fun with the bird is the word and the blah 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 and so on and so forth. But maybe they let them get away a little bit, and then once they did get that loss, they had already lost them, and they couldn't bring them back down to reality. And I don't know. Congratulations to Texas. I mean,
Yeah,
instead
right.
of looking at what San Diego didn't do, let's look at what Texas did do.
Right.
So hats off to them. I mean, they took out the hottest team in the league, and hell, if I make it on past into the second round and the third round and so on and so forth, thank you, Texas. Because I think the league, I think we all kind of wanted the Gulls gone because they were a scary team heading into the playoffs.
Sure.
If you weren't at least paying attention to the Gulls, then I don't know what you were doing.
I'm looking at the games here too, and just like the lineups in each game, and I think that Texas outmanaged the Gulls. They're throwing, the Gulls are mixing up players, and I find like unless you really have defensemen that can carry, you shouldn't be, I don't think at least you should be throwing your top defensive pair with your weakest forward line against a top Texas line, because it's a few of these wins were uncharacteristic, but Texas got the lineup matches that they won, and the Gulls are playing games that they shouldn't be, they shouldn't want to play, especially with their big streak to get that first place home seed. I think not just outplayed, but outmanaged in those games.
I mean, like Vibes was saying, and you all were saying, you can't really take the credit away from the Stars. They're a great team. I played them all year,
Sure.
or for most of the year, and don't really have much to say in a negative standpoint about them. I mean, their defense is solid. Their forwards play well together. I know quite a bit of their forwards on their line or on their team, and I mean they're a fundamentally sound team. They play the game of hockey correct, and I think they kind of stepped their foot down, especially after holding on to that 4th spot, trying to make the playoffs, and I think that was a big confidence booster for them as well. Like, hey, we can do it. Like, we take out the goals first round, hey, sky's the limit from here. I mean, you can't take away the credit from the goals either. They're still a phenomenal team. So the Stars put their foot down and pulled out the series, and kudos to them, and congrats, Stars. I mean, that's some good shit right there.
I think it's scariest that the Stars won. Or the Stars are the team to beat the Gulls. If you had the Gulls versus San Jose or the Reign, I think both those teams might, be like, oh, we beat this hot streak team. Look at how good we are. I think the Stars are for real. They're not, overconfident in themselves, and they're playing the best hockey potentially in the West, in the West Pacific right now.
Yeah, they deserve a little bit of credit because, I mean, coming down the stretch, I told everyone Stockton was going to get in. If they did this, if they did that, Stockton would get in. And hey, Stockton did everything that I wanted, that I said they had to do, but Texas held them off because Texas did everything that Stockton did and then some. And you got to take that team and you got to give them a little bit of credit because now they knocked the Gulls off. And hey, look, they're hot right now, and Texas deserves some respect.
Speaking of Texas, we have gotten a chance to get Prince of Zeus on pair of goals tonight for a pair of goals.
What are you bringing this Mama Luke in here for?
Hey,
It's been a while since we've talked, buddy. How you doing? Congratulations on the victory tonight.
I'm alive. Yeah, no, I'm doing great. Team's doing great. We just got out of that goal series. I was thankfully able to put in a couple of goals tonight. Straight Hacks carried the first game. He had 3 on his part. Faylocks with like #1 defense.
Yeah, he's been a heck of a player for you guys this season. Have you played? I haven't been paying attention closely to your team. Have you played a lot with Hacks?
When I first got to Texas, yes, and then we did a lot of line shuffling to see like what would work in the end, and then eventually I ended up back with Hacks and Fire Eyes towards the end of the season.
Talk about what you were expecting coming into the series with the Gulls, and how much of a surprise this is to you. I mean, you know your team well, but considering the way the Gulls have been playing, did it shock you about how this series went?
No, it didn't.
No.
Realistically speaking, when you look at the matchup, we were only outscored by them 2 or 3 goals in 5 games.
Right.
We were probably one of the closest teams to them, pound for pound. So when it was time to not be able to use randomly assigned veterans, when it was finally time to not be able to hide behind a strong line suited up with NHL players, and I actually got to play finally against the Gulls. That once all that finally culminated, the result doesn't surprise me.
Moving forward, you're going to have to, you still have to get out of the West. I mean, it's going to be tough no matter who you play. The Reign have been, have been a steady team all season long. We know what the Barracuda are capable of doing in that series now with 3-2 for the Reign. Are you, are you starting to think now about what you need to do against either one of those teams, or you're just going to employ the same? The same mindset. We know what the Gulls have done for 23 straight games, but whatever. We're just gonna, we're gonna put up these lines the way we feel, and that's that.
And this is no disrespect to the Gulls, but when was the last time they played playoff hockey? You win 23 in a row. You're not playing playoff hockey. No one's playing against you very seriously. No one's putting their top lines against you. Like, just from a managerial point of view, most people will see a 10-win streak and go, "Shit, let's just throw a weak line out there," because they're probably going to win anyway. Now it's playoffs. So regular season itself kind of just goes out the window at this point. I didn't make it here last season, but I'm here this season.
That's actually something I wanted to ask you. Speaking of management, how as like an individual player, do you find it easier to play for a team when you're not managing it?
I mean, I can always, after a bad game, I can just like sign off like every other player does and just kind of go pout in my room. You know what I mean? But as a manager, I mean, there's always so much pressure. You have to find players out of the woodwork. Me, I'm just showing up for game time. I'm not even practicing with the team as much. So I'm playing the game a lot less, which is helpful, it seems.
That's an interesting angle.
I know I've been on both sides of it, and I find it a lot less stressful to play without managing because you warm yourself up. You do what you got to do before the game. I get in before a game and we're playing a warm-up game with the line, and I'm like, "Sorry guys, I'm sitting in the corner because I got to find ECU for you tonight." Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's stressful, and then like you said, a team loses, you got 5 guys messaging you from the line going, "Oh, he did this wrong, and you're trying to, gather the guys together, tell them to, shake it off and grab their dick and be a man. Like I could see it being easier on you, especially when you have great management in front of you on top of that.
Oh yeah, fucked Crazy and Apollo. Funnily enough, they were the management team that gave me a chance back in season 1. So I'm here playing for them again, which is actually really fun. And I trust them guys, like hands down. I miss playing with them on the same line, but at the same time, I definitely trust them, what they're doing with the entire organization from the NHL to the AHL. Everyone's doing extremely well, both sides.
Zeus, I have a question for you. Going into the next round, obviously you have the Ontario Reign and the San Jose Barracuda. Who do you most fear, or should I say y'all? I know. It's going to be a battle no matter what. But who would you rather play going into the next series, going into the next round?
Either one. To me, it doesn't really matter. When I play games now, I don't have a player name. I don't have colors. I don't have gray circles above people's names. You are literally just an avatar, and that's it. I don't take into account who's playing anymore. So I just go out there and pressure, and eventually they break. They always break. Because you can't feasibly face 20 plus shots from a hot forward line and expect to survive. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
I like your mentality of going in and not caring who you play against, because it is like, I'm playing this guy, I'm going to take it easy, or I'm playing this guy, I got to pick it up. But I got to say, I used to do that and it was fine, but I find it strategic for myself to know who I'm coming up against. And if it's a shitter, I'll just say, I'm playing a good player. But I need to know sometimes which winger's coming down my wing, because sometimes their strategies, and you can cheat a little bit. And
I agree with you on that for sure. Thankfully, I play winger, so I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I just back check. But it's been a fun season. I had a horrible start, but I bounced back.
Yeah, you kind of got lost in the weeds a little bit for a little while, and I know we talked at one point, and you're busy enough in your own life, and you were wondering even if you really had the time to do this, but I think that may have been one of the reasons why you kind of got lost in the shuffle there for a little bit, and now. Towards the end here, you've emerged. You're showing. You're having great showings in games, and I don't think it's at all a surprise at this point that you're having the kind of success you're having. I just think it. I think it's a matter of having the time to do it. I think the summer season is showing us that it could be a bit hellish, and I gotta believe it was no different for you.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, like. For me personally, I was unavailable for one game that they needed me for. And I was like, sorry, guys, I can't make it. But no, we've actually had a lot of ECUs already in the first round. So hopefully in the second round, we can avoid those going forward. But summer season, I hate this shit. Hate the summer season. It's so bad.
Some big clutch wins, too, with your ECUs.
Yeah, no, we Cowpie is, he's an ECU, but he's been around the league. You know what I'm saying? He knows what players' tendencies kind of do and what they like to do. And then Two Trout, who we played lefty tonight, he's ECU'd for us throughout the entire season. So, he knows the core guys pretty well. And we just communicate in games like, hey, we're coming to you right now. Be ready. So, as long as we communicate in game and don't go silent, we'll be fine.
Well, listen, I'm really glad to get a chance to talk to you again. Congratulations on the series victory, and we're going to look forward to seeing your team move on. And you guys are, if there's one thing that can give your team a lot of confidence, is beating a team that was on a tremendous win streak. And I got to believe that your guys are probably flying high more than anybody at this point. So. Best of luck next series, and we're looking forward to seeing your games.
Thanks, man. Appreciate having me on here. And we're not flying high. We're shooting for the stars, bro.
Thanks,
Take it easy,
man.
guys.
Appreciate it. And the Prince of Zeus here joining us on the show, and as we look at the standings, well, not standings, but the grid here on round one, we only have 4 games that are going on now. 4 of these series are finished now, with Springfield winning 4-1 in theirs, Toronto taking care of Utica pretty easily. As we just mentioned, Dallas winning their series, and we still have 3 on the west side still going, and the one which is on the east is Binghamton and Syracuse. We have streams for 3 of these games. They're still trying to get into games as we speak, so we will we'll get back to them in a minute and show you those games as soon as they come up. But we're still waiting to see. We're still waiting for something to actually start before we can bring it to you. Still only those 3 games being streamed, so we'll have those 3 for you. Looks like the Wild matchup is about ready to go, as the teams have both entered in to their rooms. So we will bring that to you first and foremost. And going in that one, as you see, we'll get that to you in a second here. As you will see, it's Go Hawks and Nylander at forward for the Moose. So team, this will be a fun game to watch. These guys certainly are great players, but what will they be able to do in this game? And if they cannot take it, what will be the repercussions? What is it exactly that's going to be? The situation for the Moose. Will they? Will they keep
Everyone
it together?
dies. That's the fucking repercussion.
Will they keep it together as we start watching this game? Well,
Remember that time bomb I said that's going to implode there?
yeah.
It's possible. Vibes is the initiation of it all too.
Well, there's your first problem. Your goaltender's wearing yellow pads. That's not at all good. That's a bad sign.
He'll be all right.
Well, Dummy has been a solid goaltender all year. You've got a couple of goalies. Whatever Arch is dealing with, he's still somebody I wouldn't mind going to. And look at that play right away. Shot on net, deflection goal, and the Moose.
I hope you guys are tuned in, ready for the show, because it's about to begin.
Oh, you think? Yeah. Well, you're going with your 2 boys right now, and Go Hawks, and it's always fun to watch these guys play, and this is not going to be a fun one for Be Nice.
You know what the best part is? If the Monsters win and the Moose win, is that one of them's got to be eliminated after that.
Your hatred for
it's gonna be a shame to see the Monster season end like that.
Your hatred for the rest of the West is pretty obvious.
Yeah. Oh, there's no hate. There's just disliking. I don't hate anyone.
Severe disliking at this point. And I want to see. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Give Lewis some credit too on this line. Looks like he's got the best record and the most points, and best plus minus.
Louis is a beast. He's an absolute beast.
I've never even heard of him.
Yeah, the funny thing is I got about 100 more guys you ain't never heard of.
No, I know a lot of the guys you have.
Yeah, well, I bet you I know them. Ah, shit.
I hope you know them better.
The question is, will they play for you? I mean, I'm sure you know a lot of these guys.
Oh, dude, people love playing for me. Once they get to know me and hang out with me and play for me, they love me. They never want to go anywhere else.
Once they
won't play anywhere else. Either we'll go Hawks.
Well, I tell you what, you are the Go Hawks and Nylander whisperer, that's for sure. They may only be able to play with you if they're going to stay in this league.
Well, you know what, man? They love me and I love them. And listen, once you get to know somebody, you quickly find out that they ain't half bad. And, sometimes the bark is worse than the bite. And, sometimes the stories are a lot worse than they actually are. But they're 2 pretty good kids, especially Nylander. Nylander can he can chop it up with people sometimes and be a little bit pushy, but when you get to know the guy, he's really a class act. I
can really see what Biggie's problem here is, that this the makeup of this team is a 180 in personality from the Heat last season, and I don't think I think it's probably what bothers you the most about this, isn't it, Biggs?
Actually, no. I mean, if they're all a bunch of assholes, they probably all get along. So it's. I mean, if they get along, you get along. I mean, our personality was totally different, like you're saying, but everyone got along. If everyone's on the same page, you're gonna go places. And I mean, if Vibes is just transforming people into, monsters out of negativity, I don't know what you want to call it, then they're going the right way. I guess two negatives do make a positive.
They do, actually. They do.
I think Vibes is sane enough to know what he's up against and how to handle it, and I think that's what he's wound up doing this season. And I said it before and I'll say it again. When you picked up Go Hawks and Nylander, I'm like, what the hell is he doing to his team? And we're seeing the fruits of it now. I mean, I think we know what we see.
Well, hopefully we are. Still a long game here and a long playoff, so we'll see.
We're still seeing the other two teams.
I'm on the edge of my seat. I won't lie.
The other game's trying to get together. The Syracuse Crunch and Sen's game is getting close to starting. We will get back to this Iowa and Moose game now while this is going on. So we get to 5 minutes left in the first.
I got a stream up for San Jose too. I don't know if it's the right game. I'm just double checking that, but just because for some reason the rain is tagged as the Hershey Bears, but.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Let me know if you do, because I want to watch it.
It's according to Ducks fan in the shout box, it's Loki X _27 or Loki _X 27X.
Yeah, I see that stream now. So we'll try and get that in the 4 spot of the games playing, and show them all in a second here. When we get done with the first period, we'll switch over to the 4 shot and get the 4 games that are going on.
1-1, by the way, Moose. Wow.
Yeah, we saw that. We saw that goal by Iowa tying it up again. Man, I sound like a broken record about a lot of things, but shots on net, get pucks on net. That is like so. I mean, you hear it in every interview, but it's so important to get pucks on net. And that's, again, both goals in this game. Just get the puck on net. Things will happen.
Yep.
It's a good mentality, too, against top lines. Top lines come in and, they want to make fancy plays and stuff.
Yep.
And you just get a shitter line to clog the middle and just shoot the puck every chance they get. You win 1-0 so if you just play tight defense. Anything can happen in those games.
It's true.
Under a minute now, and still tied up at 1. San Jose is up 2-1 in their game right now. We'll get to that in a minute.
Vibes, give me an insight on what you think is not San Jose's, Iowa's Game 7 lineup, if you were to visualize what you're playing against next game.
Probably Leet Rixer, Vish, and I guess they'll probably throw either Wes or Kyle on the left wing.
Well, that game now over the. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Game is over in the first period. Here, we'll get you to the 4 screen in a second here.
See, I wonder if you're the Iowa Wild, if you throw a player like Crocodile out there to add on to the lineup. On a left wing, I don't know what hand he is, but I know he's a great player, even though he's not necessarily showing it by stats. But
he can be all right.
And you got to add defense too. I know Pitt Penn's fan played with us last season, and he's solid as hell. So I don't know who would play with him, but there's another tough D to get by.
My goalie has. Well, that's bad. That's scary. I'm not even gonna tell you what I just saw.
And getting back to the screen here of all 4 games, Cleveland game is still trying to start that one up. The other 3 are going on, as you see. San Jose still up 2-1. Syracuse up 1-0 on Binghamton now halfway through the first, and as we see the Iowa-Manitoba game, 1-1, 18 left to go in the second. And that time, Be Nice getting some help there by the defense. And man, if you get those cross passes all day, that's a goaltender's nightmare right there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm officially worried after what I just saw.
Hey, look, we all have our moments. Even I have been known to slide around, mishandle a puck here and there. I think there's still a video up on Twitch of me letting in a dribbler from the other end of the rink. So these things happen.
Got an update on Ontario. It's 2-1 at the end of the first. Pretty back and forth game hockey right now, but it just seems like the rain can't put in a puck right now. But hey,
yeah, boy.
Yep. We'll see how that turns out.
And there's Manitoba. Go ahead, Vibes.
You're gonna hear me be a little bit of a fan at times. I'm sorry. I can't help it, but there's gonna be a little bit of fandom coming out of me. So.
Well, that's to be expected. These are pretty important games, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it professional and down the middle, but it's a little hard sometimes. Oh, shit.
Biggs, this is how many seasons have you played in PSN so far? Oh, maybe he stepped away. I'm just curious of, well, maybe, and we'll get your answer, and looks like the Graves is back on. Binghamton just scoring now up 2-1. I kind of feel, I don't know, I kind of try and compare seasons to seasons, playoff runs and first rounders. I felt like last season first round was really interesting to watch. Manitoba was one of those teams that was an interesting matchup, but I think overall there's been better matchups and maybe more series that you'd be curious about watching this season than maybe in the first four that we've seen. Do you see that at all, Vibes, or do you think this is on par with any of the other seasons?
Well, I mean, I think generally speaking, playoffs are usually pretty exciting, and it's fun to see what happens because, look, anything could happen. The best team, quote unquote, best team could get beat by the quote unquote worst team. And there's always a few surprises, and I just think that it's always fun. This season, obviously, is a little bit more intense for me personally, since I do have a horse in the race.
Right.
But it's always fun, and this season is it's definitely no disappointment, and at least on par with anything else that we've seen.
Another goal by Binghamton now, putting them up 3-1 here as they come to the end of the first, and Binghamton looking to try and even this one up. They're in a do-or-die situation. They have a nice 2-goal lead going into the second period now, and we can wind up having a Game 7 tomorrow if they can pull this one out. If there are any Game 7s tomorrow, we'll be on live carrying it. This certainly is a series that we thought might wind up getting to a Game 7. So if Binghamton and Syracuse get there, no shock at all, and I don't think anybody would think differently about that one. Providing the Griffins can get into a room and get a game going here with the Monsters, we may see a Game 7 tomorrow. We'll see how that works out. And, Moose trying to do what they can to close it out tonight, as well as the rain. Right now, the rain down by 1. 7 minutes left to go in the second, as you can see in the upper left corner. Tell you one thing, Vibes, your team definitely seems to have found some passing lanes against the Wild, and they are getting pucks through like I have not seen against the Wild team this year.
Yeah, they when they're on point, they're really good. Oh,
Good opportunity there as this one ticks down and period over there, and the Moose continue to lead this one.
Wild are doing a good job, though. You know, I gotta say they are doing a really good job, and I think they have a lineup that's a little bit outclassed by ours, but they're hanging in there, and hey, they're only one goal away from sending this to a game 7. So, I mean, I can tell you for sure that that I'm a little bit nervous. You know, like that's a certainty. So, you know, they're playing a hell of a game.
Still waiting for the Cleveland game, as you see San Jose still up by 1. Binghamton, now we're a few minutes into the second period, still leading their game. You have any preference of the Western Pacific that you would want to see, Vibes, or that's not a topic for discussion right now?
It's been I don't really care.
Right.
I mean, I guess I feel like we match up against certain teams a little bit better, but I learned a long time ago you don't root for that type of stuff because, you know, you might get the team that you thought you wanted, and next thing you know, they beat you 4-0. So, you know, I don't play that game at all.
Smart man.
Yeah, whoever's there is there, you know, and you tackle that beast when you face it.
Not sure exactly what is going on with the Cleveland game.
Yeah,
And there's a Moose again, another quick goal. 3-1 here as the third period is a few minutes underway, and the Moose looking to knock this one out tonight. Be one less day to have to worry about lineups, which is never fun. That is never fun.
Vibes, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you. Yep.
Okay, just making sure. I'm sorry, I'm so stuck into this game right now.
It's all right, buddy. I'm right there with you. I'm doing my best of being GM vibes and you know, media personality vibes at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we got the rain in San Jose going into the third right now, starting 2-1 still, like Vibes was saying, or TSibs was saying, and you know, the Rain only have 3 shots right now, so they need to get something going. They need to, or else we're going to be seeing a game 7 here pretty soon. So
incredibly
you're
tight.
sweating.
Yeah, incredibly tight game.
Oh, I'm just ready to play game 7 if it happens.
If you're called up to the lineup?
No, that's almost a given.
That's
the one thing I could say about myself is I won't be playing any game 7s.
That's one thing I said about myself is I'll be playing every game 7.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, well, I'm the complete opposite. You
Ontario's
won't
on
find me
a power
in
play,
game 7.
so let's see if they can pull one out here.
There you go, boys. Keep it down low. Cycle a little bit. Kill some clock, baby. Sorry.
So for whatever reason, Griffins aren't sending to Cleveland. They're waiting. They haven't got any invite yet for this game. So there's some communication problem going on in that one, and we'll figure that out soon, I'm sure. I'm going to go big screen to the Moose Iowa game since that one. Well, we're going to do that after this timeout is over. But that is the one that's going to draw closer to the end. As you see, Syracuse now starting to come back a little bit. 3-2, Binghamton up. 4.5 left to go in that one as they just put up a goal. So Syracuse trying to come back and avoid a game 7.
That's right. Mafia has missed the game 7. That's right. Mafia.
Well, big part of our Hershey team last season. There's no way we get that far without him. And man, that's another guy you're thrilled you have on your team. A lot of veterans. Funny thing is, Mafia looks sane next to Go Hawks and Nylander. So
yeah, Mafia is he's a gem to have. He really is. He's a great guy.
Oh yeah.
He's a smart guy. I mean, you've had him before.
Absolutely.
You played with him last year. He's the definition of someone you want on your team. And you might see him act up in the shout box or something every once in a while, but don't let him fool you. He's exactly who you want on your team.
Now, he had a rip-roaring fight with Fairman late last season in our own team shout box, and they were able to put things aside and just go ahead and continue to play great hockey all the way in. But now Mafia, I tell you what, the other part of Mafia that I like, it's just fun to play games with him. It's just a lot of fun, and to me, first and foremost, that's what I want. I want to play this game for fun and to win. It's not life and death. It's video hockey, and he's one of those guys that makes it interesting.
That's so important too. We've had players quit. We've had Stockton to deal with 2 quit players this year, and both of them said, "I'm not having fun anymore. I'm quitting." So it's such a hard thing to deal with a quit player too, because it's just a loss. You don't get anything for it. So having players that make it fun to play is huge.
Griffins in Cleveland getting together now and finally kicking off the face-off, as you see. So we'll get back to that game in a second. Meanwhile, third period starting up Binghamton and Syracuse with the Sens still up by 1 in that. And first period, well, I guess it's a restart. Is that what's going on there with the Ontario San Jose game?
Not that I see. It looks like it's still going with 3 minutes left. So
okay, sorry.
I don't see it yet, but still 2-1, 3 minutes left in third. So
I'm down to 1 minute.
They're down under a minute now, and San Jose now still up by 2-1. Timeout being called here in this one. And we'll get back over to this Moose and Wild game. The Wild have been pressuring pretty well, and a couple of good saves. Another deflection save, and Domi has made a few in the last couple of minutes. He made one right pad kick save that was pretty amazing off a deflection.
Wow.
Now the Wild are pulling their goaltender, Be Nice. Puck thrown down the ice, no icing being called. And Iowa trying to do something here with 20 left to go in the game. But the Moose defense, along with some good goaltending in this one, have been the difference. Moose 11.2 away from closing the series out.
San Jose scored 2.
0.6 left to go in this game. So all but over as the Moose have now beaten the Iowa Wild and will move on. Meanwhile, as you
Hell of a series, Iowa. Hell of a series.
San Jose up 3-1.
Very worthy opponent.
And they are about to win their game as well. So that one all tied up at 3. San Jose with a 3-1 victory over Ontario. Little more competitive this one, DeGraves, but certainly not one that you guys I'm sure are thrilled about. And but you know what? Even series, it's one game, and now you guys just have to win the one.
Yeah, I mean, we did what just happened was a little reverse sweep. It was 3-0. Now they came back 3-3. Give credit to Kuda, not giving up. That just goes to show for anybody out there who's down in a series, whether it's 2-0, 3-0, don't give up. You never know what can happen, and Kuda just showed that. And I'll tell you one fucking thing. I'm ready to play tomorrow, so I'm skipping my damn softball game to play this. So I'm coming out fighting. I'm pissed. So it's going to be an interesting Game 7. It's going to be one to see. So can't wait to play it. Can't wait to be a part of it. And that's what it's all about, guys. So I'm a little pissed off if y'all can't tell. So just bear with me a little bit.
Understandable, but it could all be fine tomorrow after tomorrow night's game. So you hate to have to play 7, but it's not it's not like your players are getting fatigued. So it's not a big deal. As we see Cleveland tying up their game with the Griffins with a penalty shot goal. This one is tied up at 2 here halfway through the first period. So some quick scoring as Derms with the penalty shot goal to tie the game up. Yeah, it's never fun to have to deal with it this way, but it is it's more about what's going on momentum wise, and it's probably good that you're not playing another game tonight. That Game 7 is a day away, and you guys have a time to think about it, cool down, and figure out exactly what you want to do for Game 7.
Yeah, for sure. I can almost picture, who they're going to throw out for Game 7. I'm sure Squid will be a part of that. I really don't know who they'll throw out as a center. Forward lines, it's going to be an interesting matchup. We're going to bring out our best defense, who won our first 2 games. I'm pretty certain of that. Gamer and Cuban. So, that's going to be an intense game, and I think that game's going to come down to who goofs up or who chokes, or who messes up. One bad mess up can be the outcome of that game, or one timer or something like that. So hey, this is what we go to play for. So here we go.
Listen, we're going to let you go now because we got 2 more games. We're going to be finishing this one up quickly. But listen, thanks for joining tonight. Good luck tomorrow. We'll definitely be covering your game, and it's playoffs. Anything could happen. So it's everything's unpredictable. But you guys still have one more shot tomorrow night.
Oh yeah, it'll be good, guys. Y'all take care. Have a good night.
All right, thanks. Thanks to Graves. Take it easy.
Be good.
All right. That's the Graves with the Ontario Reign. More than likely, probably going to play a game tomorrow night, and we'll give him a chance to get off air and throw a few things, and give Biggie a chance to say a few words as well, as we get down to these last 2 games tonight.
Between Vibes and Graves, how do I speak?
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Vibes is just happy now, so he'll let you talk as much as you want to.
Yeah, he's praising his boys. I'm a little surprised at this Cleveland score, actually. Griffins are bringing it to them.
Meanwhile, we're almost halfway through the third. Binghamton still up 3-2. Another pause in this game. Not sure what is going on exactly with this game, but it is there are some issues with that game. Looked like there was a stall there. Now a timeout called. We'll get back to both of these games in a second. But right now, still trying to. It looks like maybe they had a lag, or maybe some guys were having a lag. So that game still having a little bit of an issue. We'll get back to you in a second. Binghamton, Syracuse back to playing right now. And we'll switch over to that game, give you guys a chance to look at this one. As the Sens still up by a goal in this. I think if you're the Bears, again, much like last season, if you're the Bears or if you're Springfield, you like to see a couple of teams beat each other up a little bit. So if they come down to Eastern Conference final between these two, certainly Toronto's thrilled that these guys are taking it the distance.
I don't know if I would take internet hockey as the same as I would real life hockey. Like you're saying, in real life hockey, you go to Game 7, you're being bruised up and you're getting injured players and stuff.
Sure.
But I almost feel like it's an advantage to win a Game 7 series because you're coming in hot and ready to play, and you played that Game 7 where anything can happen, and you're on the edge of your seat, ready to lose, but you're gonna win. And then you go up against a team who hasn't felt the pressure yet. They've swept somebody. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
like,
I go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say I think the psychology of it is more the issue, which is hard to predict because again, 17 players. You don't know how one line to the next is going to react to a win or a loss. So, it's not a fatigue thing. Obviously, it's more about does this wind up being an issue with confidence, with feeling like, if you lose a couple games in a row, do you feel like you're struggling trying to figure out how to play them? I think that's where, as a manager, you have to tell these guys, you have to say something to them that says to them, hey, this is a one-time issue, or whatever you need to tell them to keep their heads into it.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I mean, I was also considering mentioning that maybe availability in Game 7s are, something that could affect you also. You had an ECU and lost a game, and now you got players that have to play more, and their wives are angry at them or something, and now they can't play the Game 7 next week, or I don't know. There's all sorts of shit that could happen.
Now Cleveland has gone ahead now. The Griffins 3-2.
Oh, no.
And Binghamton now 5-2 over Syracuse in the third. 6:46 left to go. It looks like Binghamton's going to extend that series to a seventh game. Again, not much of a shock there.
Yeah. Can't get penalties against rival teams. Or two.
Definitely a tough one. We're going to try and get J-Cap on in a second to talk a little bit about San Jose. Try and get some words out of him. Vibes is, I don't know what he's doing.
I'm back. I'm here. I'm sorry. I was handling something.
Oh, boy.
You guys mad that you won?
My boy's running off the rails a little bit, so I had to go talk to him.
Ooh, implosion.
That's never
No, definitely not implosion. More like, being disrespectful to the Wild. So.
Oh, that's not good.
No, listen, they're passionate guys, and sometimes they, I don't know, they don't behave quite the same way as I do. So,
Well, you're not the greatest example for them.
Well, no, actually, I am, Biggie. You don't really know the way that I am, and while I do play a certain role on air, I'm actually a pretty decent person, believe it or not. And I believe in sportsmanship. I believe in gamesmanship. You know what I mean? I talk it up a little bit during the series, but when it's over, I think that you need to find yourself and who you really are, and respect the guys that you just beat, because you know what? At the end of the day, the puck bounces a different way, and it could have been you that got beat. So.
No, I hear where you're coming from. I respected everyone we beat last season. There's only one guy I wouldn't respect, and aside from that, everyone deserves respect when they put up a hard fight against you, especially.
Yep, sure. I actually just threw up a handshake thread, and I marked it media for some reason, because I'm so used to marking everything that I do as media. So, whoops, it's not media, but...
He just wants the spotlight. He's looking for
Yeah, I guess I am. I'm a spotlight whore.
Binghamton now going on a 5-minute power play, up 5-2, under a minute. This one is over for all intents and purposes, and we'll catch the last couple of minutes of the Cleveland game on its own so that you get a chance to look at that one. And a blue line goal by the Griffins. And I don't know if you got a chance to see that one quickly, but a bad goal for Cleveland to give up here with 1:41 left to go, and now they're down just one, the Griffins, again, looking to try and tie this one up as they once again get the puck and move in. 45 left to go. Well, actually, I'm sorry, it's the second period. Cleveland up 4-3, so they need one more period to cinch this one up. Meanwhile, it is Binghamton still leading theirs 5-2 in the third period. They're going to stretch this one to a Game 7.
Is this the end of the game here between Cleveland and the Griffins?
Nah,
or?
second. I thought it was the third, but it is the second period.
There was no. It's straight through to the third. There was no disconnects or anything. So.
All right. Okay.
Binghamton about ready to close out their game. Syracuse sticking with them, got back 3-2, but then Binghamton pulling away. And we'll take this game and win it 5-2. That series now tied at 3 apiece, and we will now keep an eye on the one game that is going on, that's still going on, with Cleveland and the Griffins. Cleveland up 4-3 in this. And as much as I am a T-Bot fan, and I believe Alex Cleroux is the other goaltender on this team, I question whether or not these are the guys that can get you a championship in net. I don't know. It's I kind of have bit of a love affair with the other goaltenders, and as much as I like a lot of them, I feel like you've got to have a couple of blasters like you did last season. I mean, look, Flyers and Trash Clown, to me, with the defense you guys were putting out there, all I could say is that's what I expected out of your team were a couple of victories.
It's nice, too, because, well, I don't know. I mean, I've seen Flyers shit the bed more than any other goalie, but he's also stood on his head more than Trash Clown. His inconsistency could have been the doom of us, but he definitely, he did what he had to do when the time came. Now, there's a lot of goalies that these guys, I would say Trash Clown's still top goalie in the league, but you're right. No other team's really got, a moose in front of them, or or an OMG Price. Like it's they're all good goaltenders, but I think it comes down to their defense. I don't think Cleveland's got the defense to go all the way either. Don't get me wrong, they have good defense, but not well-rounded defense. And you got goalies that are good but have exposure, and poor defense will make a goalie look bad. Well, unless you're Moose.
Yeah, exactly. We're hopefully going to get JCap on here. We may also have Ducks fan as well. We'll see if these guys are available to both talk to and discuss their series. At one time, looked like they were in trouble, but now they are all tied up at 3 in that series with the Reign.
Was it 2-1 or 3-0 for that series?
It was, I want to say it was 3-1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was 3-1 at the beginning of tonight, but do you know if it was 3-0 at one point, or was it a 2-1 lead?
Let me check on that.
Cleveland here is playing pretty shaky. Lots of giveaways in the defensive zone. I don't know if the Griffins can capitalize, but Cleveland's really playing shaky.
It was 3-0 Reign before Game 4 victory for San Jose, and then now San Jose winning the last 2. So, yeah, they've won 3 in a row now.
San Jose's got the potential for an Iowa reverse sweep that they almost did versus Stockton last year.
Yeah. Yeah, the way that one went was interesting, and then in the end, to be able to I think that was impressive for your team. One of those things that we look at and we say, yeah, I mean they, your guys stuck with it and didn't get down. Just went out and played the Game 7 and did what they had to. It was That was one of the better series I think I've seen in LG, at least on the PSN side, since I've been playing.
It was very exciting. Another thing too, and I don't know if any teams have this, but Stockton had a very trustworthy Game 7 lineup. And that's, you tell your other lines, you get us to Game 7, we'll win it for you. I don't know if all these other teams have that. Do they have their buddies to win them Game 7 or not? Who's that, Ducks fan?
I believe we have both Ducks and JCap on with us now. Hey, guys, congratulations on coming from 3-0 down to tie this series up.
Thank you very much.
How's it going, boys?
Very good. The Reign team was not one that was used to losing too many games in a row. And after taking the first 3, I'm sure they were pretty confident they would close this out sometime soon, or at least by tonight. What did you guys find? I mean, without giving details, I mean, did you find something specifically that you needed to exploit, or is this just as simple as matchup, or another day for you guys to decide how you're going to play them in games 5 and 6 tonight?
Well, it definitely starts out with just the line we put out in the chemistry between Davey L4, Patriot of Canada, and Magic Man 13. A lot of things we noticed is just their offensive tendencies, and we were able to have our defensemen adjust to that and make the shift. And these boys really brought us back in and got our confidence up, and I think that's helped us get these 3 unanswered wins.
How big is this series, considering the fact that you guys have been battling all year long for first and second? I mean, how important is it to the team in general, not just to make another level in playoffs, but to beat this team? Since you guys have struggled against them all season long.
Yeah, Dax, you want that one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So obviously it's been huge. Like you say, the battle's been pretty much back and forth. Like sometimes we're first and then they're first and then we get first back, but only by a point after a week. So yeah, the battle's been very real. But as JCap said, like down the stretch here in the playoffs, the last 3 games, we found something that works, and we're just exploiting it.
We've talked about the strength of the Western Pacific, and obviously the competition was pretty intense the whole season long, and we've talked to Biggie about that a little bit today too. How much of a help is it to go up against that kind of level of competition within your own division? Do you think that makes for a better team as opposed to, being in a division where there's one team dominating?
Well, first off, I mean, it was phenomenal. The goals over there, 23 games in a row. I mean, that's incredible. So huge shout out to them for that. But I think a lot of being able to play these tough teams is that because they're in our division, we get the maximum amount of games with them. And I think just by challenging our boys every night, it's really helped build the chemistry, bring us together as a team. And I know we got a lot of our boys back from the Checkers from last season, brought them over to San Jose, Razor's Edge, Loki, and the Killer, and obviously Ducks and I. So it's been great to be able to keep the boys together and work through this tough division. Still being able to pull out as many points as we did was awesome.
Cleveland has just knocked off the Griffins in their Game 6 tonight. As you see it by a score of 4-3 as they held on after giving up a tough goal in the second to make it 4-3. They held on in the third period and closed this one out. And with that, closing out the series 4-2, looked like Cleveland right from the beginning. There's a team again down 2-0 and looking like they are going to be in deep trouble, but have come back now with 4 straight victories. 3 of them by the score of 4-3, 1-goal games, and Cleveland with their struggles this week still able to play past it. And I think Ducks as a manager, you kind of have to appreciate when you see something like that, where where there was there's a lot said about Cleveland. I mean, we've all seen it, and we all know what kind of crap they get last season, this season. But they, again, even before the playoffs start, they lose siege for the week. People again dumping on them, losing the first 2 games. Everybody's saying you're done, you're finished. That has to say something about the Monsters and their makeup when they're able, and their management when they're able to come back and win 4 straight. And that's all part of management, is to get your guys to have their minds straight about the task at hand. And I mean, you guys have proven that as well tonight. You guys have done something very similar so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talked about the management over in Cleveland to be first place or second place last year and then first place in the whole league. I mean, they're a pretty good team, and obviously they have a good management there. So, yeah, congrats to them. That's a huge win there.
But, yeah, we also can't forget that, obviously, over here at San Jose, the management between Ducks, the Killer, and I mean, it's great to think beginning of the season when Ducks gave me the offer and Nylander 62 over there was calling me out saying, you don't have what it takes. You can't lead a team. And Ducks was just help Ducks and I just put it in the Killer, put our brains together, and here we are.
Yeah, I think you just woke up vibes.
What?
No, maybe not.
No, I'm laughing at something.
Okay.
Sounds funny. Nothing here. I'm laughing at the handshake there. That's all.
Oh, those are always fun.
You should check that out. It's funny.
We'll do that in a second. I just want to ask Ducks and JCap one more question. Same question for both of you. What's the general thought for tomorrow for Game 7? What do you tell your guys?
Well, I always let Ducks prepare the inspirational speeches, so I usually just hop on the piano and play some chords for the boys. But Ducks, go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we have like pretty much all the momentum here in the series, but it's Game 7. It's winner take all. Obviously, you can't treat it like too easily. You can't treat it like any other game in the series. So yeah, I'll make sure the boys are prepared and ready to go to war tomorrow.
All right, gentlemen, thanks again, and listen, congrats on getting right back in this one and forcing a Game 7, and good luck tomorrow night.
I picked you guys in 7, I'm pretty sure.
Hey.
Anyway.
Vibes knows.
Yeah, I mean, I would have picked 4, but...
Make sure you get that done, all right?
Sorry, I picked the Rain in 7, so I don't know. I have confidence in Orioles.
Well, it's all right, because I picked the Wild in 4, so...
Well, hey.
All right, guys.
Just one more quick shout out, Joja. You're the man. Love you, Joja. All
right, guys. Thanks a lot again. We'll talk to you maybe tomorrow night, and best of luck in Game 7.
All right. Thanks Doc.
All right. It's Jake and JCap and Ducks fan Waterloo joining us tonight again. That series now, Cleveland and the Griffins tied up at 3. We're going to get one more interview on here in a second if I can scrounge up D. Herms, one of Vibe's favorites.
Why are we bringing that guy on here?
And just talk to him quickly about this Game 6 victory.
Can I say something before he comes on?
Sure.
I want to say something before he comes on.
Go ahead.
It has nothing to do with him. I just want to say something. Now, I know the teams are vastly different. I mean, I know comparing them and stuff and anything like that is a little ridiculous. But last season, the Manitoba Moose lost to the Iowa Wild, and 2 totally different teams. There are actually some players who were held over and are a part of my Moose team that were a part of that Moose team last season. So I know we haven't won anything yet, and it's just one playoff round, and I fully understand that. But I just want to dedicate this series win to the entire Season 4 Manitoba Moose team, and especially Dead Soul Rising. He's been an instrumental part in the team, and he's a huge part of why we are being successful at this current point in time. So that round 1 victory is dedicated to the Season 4 Manitoba Moose.
I gotta find the tissue box. I'm about to cry.
Go fuck yourself.
I'm about to cry. That's very sweet of you. We're gonna have D Herms on here in a second. As soon as he's ready to
All right,
go.
I'll make it undersweet once he gets on here.
Well, we're gonna get him to the group here, and give him a shot. We'll get him on to talk about the Monsters, and we'll talk to him about all the crap he's been taking of late. As soon as he gets here, again, Cleveland moving on past the Grand Rapids Griffins, who have been playing some damn good hockey of late, and look like they could really. Look like maybe the tide could be for them, but Cleveland storming right back in this series, winning 4 straight and taking it. D. Herms with us now. Buddy, congratulations on the first round victory.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on, Sibs.
Get carried.
Oh. Did you watch the game?
Fucking carried.
Wow. Carried.
I thought I hated Cleveland. I guess he hates them more.
He does.
Cleveland's all right. I don't get it. It's this.
I don't think it's Cleveland.
guy
I think it's Herms himself.
I think Herms is a great guy.
I do too. I don't know what
other players, but
I don't know what Vibes has a problem with there.
At least
that.
Herms.
He just runs his mouth constantly.
Well, then you must take yourself.
You give yourself such. I don't get it.
Stop talking. Talk to Sibs. Don't talk to me.
Let's talk about the games tonight.
Don't fucking talk to me.
Actually, let's talk about the games the last couple of nights. Again, you guys were left for dead on the side of the road after Game 2, and it apparently didn't faze you guys at all. What did you guys wind up saying to each other? I know that I know there were some issues earlier in the week, but what did you wind up saying after Game 2 that turned everything around?
Oh boy. We had some talks in the Skype chat just about keeping our heads straight and keeping focused and making sure that we were going to win this Calder. That's the end goal with this team. That's been the end goal since the beginning. And we weren't going to let 2 games faze us. The Griffins were a quality opponent, but we knew that we were the better team, and we knew that we just had to go out flying, and that's what we did over those 4 games.
Let me warn you, you're going only into 3 more Hurricanes. If you get past the next 2, you might have a chance at the Calder, but if you beat the Moose and you can beat that strong-ass West Pacific Division, and maybe I'll respect it.
Well, let's talk first things first, and that's the Moose, and obviously Vibes and his boys have done a heck of a job, just doing what they need to do, basically, to win and to succeed this season. You probably haven't had much time to think about it at this point, but what are your initial thoughts about the Moose and what you guys are going to have to do?
Just like every other team in the West Central, they're a hell of a team. We've played them and had a little bit of struggles with them.
Little bit.
Yeah. Last game was it 4-0 shutout? I want to say for you guys.
Yeah, it was 4-0.
I think
the
mentality.
One before that it was 3-0. Just in case.
The mentality in the playoffs is different, and it's a clean slate. And that regular season stuff, and the stats you told me to shove literally up my ass are out the window.
Did you print that out, by the way?
I did.
Did you print it out?
I did. I actually sent it to you with my thumb up, just showing you, and the highlight of where we were in the standings at the time, or the stats. You didn't like that.
I told you to print it out and then shove it up your ass. You got the part 1 right. What happened to part 2? No good?
No, that didn't happen.
Terms, if you want to beat the Moose, I'll give you one tip. Go up 2-3 games on them, they'll implode, game over.
So let's talk.
Oh yeah, what a wonderful fucking piece of advice. Go up 3 games on them. Yeah, sure, that's how you beat them.
How are you guys going to deal with some of the head cases on your team?
We don't got no head cases on our team. We're all good. We're ready to go. We're family.
Well, I don't know if you can really if you can make that claim. Like maybe you guys don't have a few issues to deal with as well in Cleveland.
We fixed those issues
100%.
Okay. Those have been completely ironed out.
Okay.
Back. and things are going to be all good.
So, and obviously you're going to need everybody, and you're going to need everybody to be positive and on the same page. You feel like you're at that point now?
I would say completely. After tonight, after how much we banded together in the chat before the stream, all of the positivity we've had in the Skype chat leading up to the game. When I woke up today, there were messages saying, get out there, get the wins, we're ending the series tonight. And we went out and did that. And it's because of the positivity of our team.
I mean, and you guys certainly played good hockey all season long. You know, you were up there on top. You had the Moose chasing you, the Wild there for a while. But, you know, for the regular season, it looked like you guys were totally on track. And then a little bit of a hiccup before the playoffs starts. You feel like you're back to where you were in the regular season with the same kind of chemistry and the same kind of drive that you had then?
I would say so, completely. We had a small little bit of a hiccup at the end of the season. I think we got complacent at where we were in the standings. And I think it showed in the first 2 games of the series. And then we got our head straight.
What do you guys do now as far as preparing for the Moose? What do you what do you guys typically plan before going into a playoff series?
They probably play tummy sticks.
Oh, jeez. Now you're getting personal. It has nothing to do with hockey.
We go practice. We club, we bond, and we get better as a team.
And that
is bond. I told you.
That's well. I tell you what. I've been in a lot of club games late at night with these guys when they want to practice their defense and they need a shit goaltender. They call me, and I've been in games with them, and they do get a lot of work in, and I think that's a key to really getting chemistry going and getting a bonding going, and I think you guys have been doing that the last couple of seasons. I think it's a major reason why all of you play so well together is because you practice. It's so fundamental. Yet a lot of teams don't do it.
Much agreed. Before I respond to that, just check your OBS settings, TSibs. We get together a lot, and I know I can't do it as much just because I have work in the morning, but some of these guys go until late in the morning, and they're getting quality time together and building chemistry, and I can't compliment them enough for their drive and devotion to the team.
All right, well, listen, we're gonna let you get going. We gotta get out of here too. These games have been long over. So, listen, congrats, great comeback, another solid performance tonight. 4 games in a row, and you guys look like you're on the road to a heck of a series with Manitoba.
Thanks. Just one little thing for vibes real quick. You told me, you said on your podcast that Cinderella's pumpkin was on its way. And I'm going to just say to you that it ain't over until the obese Moose GM sings. So thanks for having me on, TSibs. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to this great series with Moose.
He says obese. The obese GM. The fuck is that? Come on.
All
You're
right,
gonna come at me.
Probably time for you to leave now.
Yeah, it's all good.
I'll talk to you later.
Don't let the door hit you in the fucking ass.
All right, Derms, take it easy. Good luck, man.
Thanks, appreciate it.
All right, there's Derms taking off now. As before Vibes can get his jaws clamped on him, we'll let him go. Listen, guys, some interesting.
Hold me back.
Some interesting games tonight. A lot of fun watching this, and this is playoff hockey, pretty much, Biggs.
Yeah, it's exciting. I like to see the competitiveness, and I'm stoked for tomorrow. I want to see both those game 7s. 4 teams with huge lineups, good players. It's going to be a sight to see.
And we will have both of these games on tomorrow night for everyone. And listen, again, thanks, guys, for joining me tonight. I appreciate you guys helping me out.
Yeah, sorry I wasn't a bigger help. I was kind of invested in what was going on. But, yeah, thanks for having me.
Just for you, Sibs. Do anything for you, buddy.
All right, thanks, man.
Fuck
Appreciate
me
it.
though, right? Asshole.
Oh, gee, nice. Very nice.
Rivalries.
Once again, that is it for tonight for Thursday night, Wednesday night playoff hockey. Thanks to Vibes and to Biggie for showing up tonight and helping me out again. We are down to 2 more games in the playoffs. It will be Binghamton and Syracuse tomorrow night, as well as San Jose and the Ontario Reign. Thanks for joining our live look-in here on the special edition of Thursday Night Hockey. TSibs saying so long. We'll talk to you again tomorrow night.